So we join back in with our adventurers. After last week, they had begun hunting out the infected creature that lives in the mountains. Finding evidence of creatures living above, they'd begun their climb and narrowly avoided spotting by a wyvern. And we join, oh, well, two smaller wyverns. And we join them now as they have found what is definitely a large feeding platform, but also at the back seems a cave entrance that only for definitely looking around now that you've got a moment, Ailey. There's definitely signs that some smaller wyverns have sort of squeezed their way in here in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're sort of looking down the 10-foot walls, there's scratches and scrapes where even with the folded wings, they would just be thin enough to sort of step their way down.
Yeah.
And further up, you can see that it does continue. So obviously, this definitely isn't the main lair, but again, it's up to you guys how high you're going to want to go. You know, just from the rolls you've got about wyverns, they're going to be nesting in the 200 plus range, definitely in these peaks.
I do want to check out further down this crack, but I want to stealth down there. My pass without trace is still up and running, I think, for an hour.
Yep.
So I want to see if I can creep a little bit further down, and I am 7 foot odd, right? So there's probably a little bit of a tight squeeze for me as well. But I want to see if I can get a little bit further down and see what this odd smell is, and see if I can work out, yeah, what's in there.
Okay, so anybody that's staying out on the platform can give me a perception or an investigation to look around out there. Eleni, as you move down,
Can I go with Eleni?
yes, if you want, very easily. Do you want to stealth as well?
Yes.
Should we roll new stealth, Liam, or yeah?
Yeah, can do.
Normal.
You say a perception? Dirty
Yeah.
20.
Nice. I got a 26 total, 16 plus 10.
I'm really glad for that. Pass without trace, 17 total. 2.
Okay.
My rolls have not been good today.
Mine haven't either. Been awful.
My perception was 18.
Okay. So for the other two, for Dante and Eleni, you head inside, and you can see that the narrow passageway opens into a chamber that's no bigger than maybe like a single-roomed cottage. The air buzzes faintly, but not with insects. There's almost like Eleni detected before, like latent magic almost. Dante, without a roll of what you know of Arcana, this very well could be like a ley line. So a point where the weave converges and almost magic is... It's hard to tell without doing some tests, but magic can be enhanced, magic can be messed with, magic can be dulled. From the feeling and buzz in here, it feels like enhanced.
Are we in a wild magic area?
Well, hard to tell. The walls, as you look around, are marked with scratches and small scorch signs that maybe things rested or nested in here, but not for long. There's not enough space and there's not enough access. However, as you look up, you can see that not big enough to climb through by any stretches of the imagination. It's almost like slivers and cracks. But there's almost like air. Like the draft in here is actually coming from above, as you think that some of those cracks might lead to chambers and tunnels that lead further up almost. Can you two both drop me investigations now that you're inside, and I'll flick just to outside as you're looking around. Sorry, go on.
Separate, or can one of us aid the other one?
You can aid if you wish. Just message to decide that. So
Yeah.
and I'll so for the others outside. So definitely taking a look around this again. Like I've said, this is a old and long used feeding platform. However, now that you're taking a closer look, you are able to pick out the differences, and you're almost... So there's the bones that have been here a while and such, but Volu, you come across there's like a leg or shoulder, like the upper foreleg or something like that. Large sort of limb bone. That where it's been bitten, the other ones they've been stripped clean, and you can see the bite marks, and you can see the small singeing that the natural acidic bile in the wyverns creates. There's a few fresher ones that are a lot more degraded, almost as if they were like slathered in the same. Like if you imagine, like that one looks like it was bitten with this weird acidic-y, bitey stuff, and that one looks like it was dipped in it and left in it for a while. And as you're looking through, you and Ichi would both be able to confirm the newer and the most recent feeds all seem more scorched and more burnt and more degraded, even though they're newer. And I would also say for Volu, you would be able to identify the sickly, sweet, rotty smell is actually the freshish corpses. But as opposed to, it's got there's that natural rotting smell, but the sickly sweet you think is the extra biley degraded bits.
Didn't they say the infection enhances or heightens kind of what the opposite that the creature does? So usually it'll just attack and eat and leave. This seems to be more aggressive in that sense, more how do you say it? Sadistic?
And yeah, Nietzsche, I would say for you, it definitely confirms that same sort of. And what you would also notice through the combination, the last thing I'll leave you with before I flick back inside, the amount of kills has dropped, if that makes sense. However, they've got bigger. So the corpses that are more fresh are larger pieces of meat, but there are less of them, whereas there's like 2 or 3 goat heads over there that are sort of scattered together.
Yeah.
You would definitely, with those rolls, give you the impression of one thing hunting as opposed to a nest of things hunting, which you would.
Yeah.
And again, you would expect to see that. That would give you also the impression that like those 2 small things probably aren't eating on this ledge.
Yeah. With just before you swap back, does it feel like, in terms of like the size increase, does it feel sudden? Of like perhaps this infection has caused the wyvern to grow larger than normal.
Yeah, all the old bones are small goats.
Yeah.
There's obviously evidence of humans. You know, there's belts and buckles and other things, but again, it's not uncommon for them to find dead humans or even kill the occasional one and fly away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is almost suddenly like, oh, you know, like before they hunted deer and that's a bison body. All of a sudden, it's that jump up of they were hunting goats and individual humans, and that's like an entire lion, or like
Yeah.
um.
Okay. Each will kind of like mutter that of maybe the infection's causing almost like a mutation within the creatures, forcing them to grow larger and hunt more viciously, vigorously.
And I will leave you there to think about that as I flick inside. What was the investigation from within?
13.
At advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a +6.
Maybe better than that
Afterwards,
one at advantage.
literally, after that, I just spammed it loads. And honestly, I got 20 at one point. The rest of it, all of
Maybe
it
we
was
should be
under.
refreshing stuff because my rolls
Okay,
have been
so
shit as well today.
I've been having single-digit rolls, a lot of these.
luckily for you guys, this room isn't too crazily big. On the back far wall, you find a small cluster of, it looks like scratchings on the wall, but as you get a little closer, they're actually old runes.
I speak Dwarvish, Liam. Are they Dwarven runes?
They are.
Ooh.
And it just says, the rock goes deeper than the bone.
Okay.
Mines of Moria.
Maybe left us and pretty close by, hidden sort of under rocks and rubble that seem to have fallen down from above. You do find a dwarven skeleton, still in its sort of loose traveling leathers, curled up against the wall.
Does Volu have speak with dead?
Can we search its pockets, see if there's any kind of ID or anything that would tell us more about him in his belongings?
So searching through, their backpack looks to be climbing. It's mostly climbing and mining equipment. But for Eleni, it's not like to set up a mine. It's almost like if you were scouting ahead to find good places. So he's got like a small pick.
So he's prospecting rather than mining.
But yeah, definitely, and especially knowing that all of these mountains at one point were, bustling mining areas. They've got a few bits of paper. You find mostly bits of notes and other things. For Eleni, looking through them at a quick glance, it is mostly like headed to this point, marked a tree, it's tracking where he went and how he did it, and whether he found anything. There are a few notes about not this peak, but he talks about a peak that is. He's marked it. He's marked it as north of the Solitary Mound. That's what he's named it as.
North of the Solitary Mound.
Yeah, east of Cadfesi.
Hang on. East of Cadfesi. Does that mean anything to me? Is there a mountain that's bigger than the rest, or a mountain that sort of stands alone?
When you travelled this way, there are a few that you might call that. They're not bigger, but there are some that are sort of smaller mounds that stand away. They sort of stand further out from the.
Yeah.
There are a few, but from what he's written, you think that if you would have to go and check, and it looks like he's sort of marked on a stone. So he's made he sort of says where to find the stone. So you're sort of going to have to look for, if you want to. And to be honest, as you look through, the notes are actually saying that there is potential Zikar prospectful Zikar there.
I mean, I would probably be taking the backpack with us anyway. If there's climbing gear in there as well, it might be useful. So, but nothing with his name on it, or
nothing that has the name on it. The only other things you find is a small vial of a fine grey powder. To be fair, it is labelled in Sylvan.
I think I speak Sylvan.
You do.
Speak Sylvan.
They're labelled Blessed Salt Ash.
Blessed Salt Ash.
Yeah, you've not come across it as an item like this, but it looks like, as you sort of pop it open and look in, it almost looks like a paste. It's definitely not like and the vial, it's wooden. It's not like a.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a throw. It doesn't look like a throwable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely. The other thing that's still intact is a black, almost a bit like it's black, but it's almost got like that silky, refraction of light sort of vibe to it. Like scarf that's still wrapped around the skeleton's neck.
Okay.
But what makes it stand out to you from the others is it's like the rest of his clothes look degraded.
Right.
The scarf doesn't.
I would very carefully take the scarf as well and just say to Dante, we might need Volu or someone to have a look at this. This might be something special. Anything
Maybe.
else in the cave other than the skeleton and the
No, for looking around, the only other signs of things is that definitely something is nesting above. There's fragments of like twigs and things that shouldn't just be lying in the middle of this random cave, that are just, and again the evidence of bits being collected, so belt buckles that have dropped down and
How tall is the cave?
so where you think the cracks are is maybe 20 feet. But definitely, even from this distance, there's no light, if that makes sense. You can feel the draft coming from up there, but there's no actual light up there. Still pondering to yourself. And for a Lenny, the last thing that you get as you're sort of flicking through the journal fragments, the last entry talks about seeing a wyvern acting weird. And then the note after it is just a strange egg. She won't leave it. Only leaves for food.
Okay.
But that's the last entry on the writing.
Is there any way that I can tell either how old the skeleton is or how long ago the journal entry was made?
Give me a history.
12.
So, considering where the body is, got to be a few years at least. Definitely longer than a year. Hard to tell the exact.
And it's damp in here, so it's not like he's mummified. He's definitely.
And actually looking, there's definitely been one or two smaller wyverns that have taken an opportune meal on the random body found within.
And I probably wouldn't say it's a Dante here because I'm conscious there might be something higher up. So I'd probably gesture to let's leave the cave and go back out.
Beforehand, Dante will. So, are there is it? I'm assuming it's not like a flat roof. I'm assuming it's like stalactites.
No, it's like it's cracky and.
Well, we've still got an hour. Well, maybe not an hour. We still have a good chunk of
You've
time.
got
At least half an hour. Yeah.
But you've got 50 minutes. You've not you activated it during the fight, and it's not taking you more than 10 minutes to have a look around.
Exactly. So I'm gonna, and it's 20 foot up in the air. So I'm going to just kind of point up and just kind of go, fancy give me a hand.
I can give you a foot up if you want, yeah.
So I'm going to kind of step back to try to do a running thing, and I want to see if I can get up onto a stalactite.
Okay, and I'll say that with the two of you and with the climbing, you do hands-on, with the reach up, you almost grab onto two stalagmites and pull tights. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
tights.
they hold tight to the ceiling, don't they?
Yeah.
And then pull yourself up and get yourself into position.
And the mighty grow up.
And now that you are up here, there is definitely bits where almost maybe like an earthquake has displaced it. There's almost like a pocket space through there, but it doesn't look big. You almost think it's like a funnel upwards, like almost like a bit of a chimney upwards.
Okay.
How big are we talking when you say not big? Are we saying
In terms of like width, it would probably only be big enough for Volu to fit in without burrowing it out, sort of thing.
Right. Okay. So there's no.
But it definitely leads up, and there is a pinprick of light.
So it's a couple of feet round, no more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there nothing else up here that I can find? Any other crags that go anywhere?
No, I mean, there's definitely, you can tell just by sort of having a look around and feeling, there's definitely other slivers, but they're even smaller than, that's the largest sort of crack that you were able to find.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of like just gesture down to Eleni and just be like, "Do you think you can catch me?"
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kind of like just do a hold on, so with my hands onto the stalactites and kind of flip down, because I mean, to be fair, our two heights together will be not too far off 20 feet.
Yeah.
I don't say Eleni can easily enough catch you and help you down. You almost use the wall down a bit as well, and
Yeah.
There's space for maybe someone like Volu to go through, but not big enough for people like us.
Okay. So maybe we have to climb up the outside.
Or we can make that crack bigger. I think it widens out further in.
Would that not make a lot of noise or vibration and alert anything above?
Maybe. But it depends on what's above it. If we're able to come from underneath it, it may be one of the best ways to get the attack without anyone noticing. But these potions will run out before that. So we would need to set up maybe some climbing equipment if there was only some sort of stuff here.
Let's take the backpack out. We can see what this cloak is, and we can see what kind of climbing equipment we've got. If we've got something better than just rope, that at least is something.
Okay, so you reconvene. I would say for the guys on the outer shelf, having a look and just having discussed, you don't think anything has used this shelf like in a few days. And for each of that does make sense. If you imagine it would circle the mountain and so probably have a few spots where it feeds within the area. But it hasn't used this one specifically in maybe 4 days as the others exit and you all reconvene on the ledge.
I would say very quietly, because I'm still being very quiet, and our pass without trace is still up. I would just say there's a skeleton of a dwarf inside. I've got his backpack here. There's a journal. I think he was prospecting, mining maybe. He did have this round his neck, and I would hand it out to Volu. All the rest of his clothes were rotted away, but this still looks like new. I don't know if it's got some kind of magic on it. I mean, maybe we can check it out later if we can't do it now, but there's something.
Also, we found a potential way up, or maybe even an escape route down. Inside the cave, on the roof, it looks like a small funnel that led up, and we think something's nested on top of it. It might be a way, depending on what and how high it goes, The only issue is that the size is probably only fit for Volu at this time. So either we can send him up to have a look, or we need to make that hole bigger. But we don't know. It might lead to nowhere. Or we could, at the same time, prep something in that cave for if we were above it, and that is where we end up fighting. We could maybe make our own way down as an escape route.
We would have to make it wider for us to get back down it, though. We'd have to do that first, or each would be having to go first and burrow.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing to point out is that there have been smaller wyverns in there previously. I don't think the ones that attacked us here could fit in, but if there were smaller ones out around and about, definitely. There's also some mention in the journal of, I think he's talking about a wyvern, something about a strange egg, and that she won't leave it unless it's for food. Not sure how long ago that is, but there's, yeah.
Volu, can you speak to the dead?
Can I speak to the dead? Not currently, but can I speak to them in general?
I really like the idea of just not even like thinking about can you do it via magic. Just, I mean, I can talk to them. I can speak to them.
I could just have a chat. I'd be fine.
They don't always reply, and when they do, that's when it's terrifying.
I can't remember what level spell. I think it's a 3rd level spell.
Yeah. Something like that.
And I don't know if he's got those
Are you on
yet.
about clairvoyance?
No, Speak of Dead.
No, it's
No,
actually
it's called.
Speak of
It's
Dead.
called.
I can do it, just not to. Don't have it prepped, unfortunately.
Okay. So
That is
tomorrow,
fine.
maybe.
Well, then,
He's not going anywhere.
well, he can do. Dante's going to just quickly dash in, remove his head,
We're gonna
and
need the
bring him
head.
back.
Oh,
We've done this before.
I know, but I always feel bad.
Yep.
All we need is them to have the ability to talk.
Yep, that is true.
Looking at the object that Eleni gave me, can I detect anything on it just on basis of looking at it? Or
No, you would need to use detect magic or identify.
I thought as much. I'll just take it for now and pop it in my cloak.
I think we should get some magic glasses that can detect magic and things.
Yeah.
Or
I'm prepped. I'm prepped for a fight and backing people up. So,
alternatively, what we could buy for probably minimal gold, thieves' tools as well, just because we keep talking about it.
Yeah, thieves' tools would be good.
Okay, so the question: to bait or to keep climbing and try and find the nest?
What time of the day is it?
It's currently maybe. It's not that late. It's maybe about 10. It's coming up to midday, but not quite there yet. What I will say is, as you're standing, you can see the occasional bits of movement further up and down the mountain. Things are starting to move around more. From what you know generally of wyverns, they are normally like midday hunters as opposed to nocturnal ones.
I mean, is there an option that we perhaps stay very, very quiet, use this cave just to hide out for a bit, let it, get to later in the day when the wyverns might be quieter, and then, although climbing in the dark is not a good idea, but I'm just thinking right now it's probably peak hunting time, isn't it?
I mean, I'm practically a human torch, but
Well,
at the same time, we also don't know. We know that the infection creates the opposite features in a creature. So, but then there's both. There's normal wyverns and infected wyverns around her. So it's like,
So it might not make any difference.
I'm thinking though, middle of the day when we expect them to move, maybe a short rest here, or even where we can plan out, and perhaps we can do something with this hole. We'll have a bit of time.
I could take a quick look if you think I'd fit.
Lenny and myself can get you up there.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I'm always careful, and I'll kind of just like do that, forgetting that we're on a ledge, and kind of go whoa, and then.
So I think because he hasn't got climb speed. Hey Lenny, do you want to boost me again?
Will do.
Yeah, I don't need it. Basically, I'd say you can get him up to the crack with no checks, because between the two of you and the climb speed you've got, and then lifting and passing him sort of thing. Bolu, as Dante sort of lifts you up to the hole, it's less perfect circle, more crack, like a sort of classic. And at its widest point, you can squeeze in, and it's still sort of chest to back touching.
I'll regret the amount of sausages that I inhaled for breakfast in this moment.
Oh, speaking of, where's the dog?
Oh shit.
Oh
Where is
At
the dog?
at the bottom where you left him before you rushed off.
Oh no. Oh no, he's at the bottom of the cliff howling. It's not good, he's going to get eaten.
Liam, I'm never going to forgive you if you start giving us a dog. And
You
then
will never be able to use Doris against me ever
Right.
again
Ichi,
if Rufus
Ichi,
gets
can
eaten
you
by
go grab
wyverns.
Rufus while we're doing this, please?
To be honest, didn't we leave him with Kanda?
No,
we didn't. We didn't specifically say we did.
No, we didn't.
For some reason, I thought we did. I forgot about it.
No. Ichi, I would say that you could definitely easily go get him.
Yeah. But then, what are we gonna do with him up here?
E.G., why don't you go back
We
to Kanda and ask Kanda
can
to
get him
look
to
after
stay in this place.
We'd have to make like a sort of a hammock for him and carry
To
him.
be fair,
a little dog papoose.
Dante's idea isn't awful. Candace camp is 400.
I was going to say,
500
each will
foot that
climb
way.
down, and we'll take Rufus back to Canda's camp. And
I don't know. I like the idea of a dog poos.
A papoose.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm going straight to the dragon's den.
So I'd say Bolu, you can give me an athletics as you begin your climb. Are you gonna do anything other than just go for it, like to assist yourself or anything like that?
He's gonna stealth because Dante says, "Be careful and be quiet."
Okay, definitely gonna stealth.
okay. I can. Yeah, sure. So am I rolling for stealth, then rolling for athletics?
Yeah.
And remember, you can have guidance.
And you've still got +10 stealth.
Yeah.
So I've got 27 on the stealth.
Nice.
Is that with a +10 as well?
Yeah, so I got 17 plus 10. And then acrobatics, I got nat 20, so 22.
Athletics.
Athletics?
There's a nat 20 in the way.
21.
So 21. Okay. Amazing rolls. So you begin shuffling and sliding your way up this chute. As you're doing that, each of you arrive back at camp to see Kanda sort of still fairly dreary-eyed looking at you, even though it is like coming to midday. As he's, forget something?
Yes and no. We forgot to ask you if you could watch Rufus while we investigate the mountains. Are you planning on leaving immediately?
I mean, I'll only to frequent a tavern, but I could say a bit.
If you wouldn't mind, that would be lovely. Yeah, we just want to take a better look at that wyvern situation in the area. And then I'm gonna kind of look around. I know Volu isn't near, but I feel like he can hear me. So Ichi's gonna take a suspiciously intimate step closer and is just gonna whisper. So the rule is 1 sausage for a Woofus, 2 for you. Because that's the rule Volu wants to establish. So in that case, give him all the sausages.
As you start thinking of it, they're just like, shh, child, I have plans.
Oh my God,
And-
what is this dog going to look
And
like?
in
when we
that, I
pick
kind
it
of
up?
like, I graciously take their hand, shake it, and kind of like give a little bit of a humble bow. I knew he's in good hands.
As
Then I'm
soon as we
gonna-
suggested giving the dog to Kanda, I knew that was going to mess
We
it
come
up.
back and Rufus is actually a blink dog. And
Oh my god! Yeah, I give Rufus a little scritch. Tell him to behave, but have
Wow.
fun. And then I'll start running back.
Okay. So Volu, I'm only not asking for a second because I like the nat 20.
Yay!
But this is a climb. You are climbing, and it takes you a while because you're half speed as well. Because climbing is just half speed.
Oh God, that's
17
Fifth-
feet.
yeah, 7. No, not even that.
12.5.
12.5 feet.
I remembered when I played dwarves. Absolute killer, losing that 5 feet.
Yeah, because it basically just turns you to 10. They might as well basically 2/5 you instead of but anyway. You're climbing for about 200 foot.
Oh Jesus!
Luckily, there are some points where it widens and almost gives you that point where you can put your legs out and stretch a little bit and like free up the arms. But it is never more than like a foot. So there are points where you can rest your feet and you've got your back against the wall, and then it narrows again.
So
And there are
how-
maybe it
How long is it gonna
it
be?
takes you about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because it is essentially moving in
480.
rounds.
I think it was 480 seconds.
So just under 5 minutes.
As you're just making your way up. Ichi would have arrived back before, or would be arriving back as you're sort of making it. And as you're getting up to the basically where you can see a point of light, it sort of cracks outwards, and this definitely isn't a doorway or any entrance that a creature would use, or not a creature that would sort of nest up here, but you sort of come out of a crack between a cluster of rocks, and you are immediately on a bit of a plateau. Not peak. There's still, if you imagine, it's almost like a C shape carved away, and the peak still continues on this side, but there's a bit of a wide shelf. You can see that there are sort of, it's as opposed to like little twigs and leaves, there are sort of larger branches and twigs, but they've almost been set up rather than as a base, as almost like a shelter above, and you can see there's almost like a semicircular structure crafted out of twigs and branches, but also like the beams of houses, and but from older, they found a cottage or something and they've just torn the roofing to shreds and taken the beams, and there's bits of hay. Fairly clean, obviously, like you would sort of expect. They don't have just food and other things. And as you're from where you are, if you imagine you're sort of on the outside edge, so there's definitely a section round the corner that you can't quite see. And there's a shift and like a deep growl. and it's from this other side. So you think you're a good 30, 40 feet, right? It's a fairly large plateau. And if you imagine it, it looks like it goes around the mountain.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's still like a central pillar that's sort of blocking view. And you would hear almost like scraping, almost like stone on stone, but it's almost in time with the grunting of the creature, almost like limping. It's almost as if like as its left foot been turned to stone or something. There's like a as it sort of moves. And then I'd say the last thing that catches your interest, and obviously you can stay here for as long as you want until you see something, but what I will let you know is you are a little bit exposed. There's basically like to get down is a slow process.
Is there like the natural cliffside? Can I see that from here? And
Yeah, so the cluster of rocks that you are sort of at is maybe 5-10 foot away from the very, very edge. And again, you are facing Lake Sif side. So almost, if you imagine, you don't need to show this on the thing, but if you can see on the map,
yeah, almost like that little mound.
There's like the mountain here, and then the mountain continues. This shelf, if you imagine, it reaches like a semicircle halfway around each side of the central. Can you see up here? Sorry, where I'm sort of
Lincoln,
drawing.
I'm not. Sorry, Liam, I'm not seeing you. That's
I
like in the
can't
middle
see
of
you
the
draw.
ocean.
Yes, but can you see a stick that I've drawn?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I can see
Oh
it.
no, sorry, I'm zoomed in. I was going to say, is it like the little crevice that leads up to the L?
Yeah,
in
actually,
Peaks?
yes, that is actually a way better. And I've almost replicated it. If you look next to the P of Peaks,
yeah,
under
there's
the
like a bit of a shelf there.
Under the P, so imagine that shelf is almost like a
Oh right, okay.
semicircle round the mountain.
Yeah.
So it actually stretches a longer way around the mountain before it continues up.
Yeah.
But it faces the half that is plateaued faces Lake Sif side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like if I draw with red, it's like all this section is this shelf.
Yeah, like that's where I currently am. And where the chink is further down is like where the other ledges were.
Yeah, so like down here is where you were with the other ledges, those little dots down there.
Okay.
So again, how long do you want to stay? You can hear this thing shifting around. Do you want to move out? Do you want to move down? What's the plan here?
So I've got the rope tied round me, haven't I? So I can.
And for Dante, he's got more than 200 foot up because the rope is 10 foot up. Like it disappeared up the crack.
So I'm going to start pulling up the rope quietly.
Okay.
And I'm going to, like 5-10 feet, I'm going to kind of throw it off the edge.
So you're going to sort of like throw it over the actual edge side of the mountain.
So then it's dangling about 10, 20 feet above where we were.
Okay. It'd be more like 30, 40 because the 20 foot that the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the 20 foot of the room, and then you've climbed about 220.
Okay.
So it's like, so it would be 40 foot above the cave entrance, essentially.
Yeah.
And then I'm got like because the rocks around me, there's bits sticking out, isn't there, as I've been climbing?
And the cluster you've come out of, if you imagine it sort of looks like maybe something small and burrowing like bust up out of here at some point, but like a long, long time ago, and now the earth has formed and dirt and stuff has settled in the cracks, and it almost, as you're sort of climbing out this side, it looks like a like mini volcano chute almost.
Okay, is there anything in that vicinity that looks strong enough to hold
Yeah, a number of the rocks you could sort of, you would have to do it rather than doing like tying around it. You would almost make a big fat knot and wedge it. No worries.
Okay.
I would ask for a survival from you to secure it safely to the rocks.
Okay. That is a 24.
Okay, you make a large knot and you almost like hook it under and round one of the rocks and then wedge it in. So you think it's pretty secure. As you're doing this, there's almost, so if you imagine this whole time there's been the you suddenly become aware that there is none of that anymore.
Yeah.
And as you turn, you are 5 foot from the nostril of a very large wyvern. And almost your hair blown back as it does that. You know, that snoot, the shoot out that they do before they do a big breath in. Volu, as you're staring up at this wyvern, mechanically it's not out of the large category, so it's not quite made it to
Gargantuan
or huge. But it is the biggest wyvern you've ever seen. However, the thing that grabs your attention immediately is it looks like somebody's taken a big paint bomb and just splashed it on its face, as there is pink, purple, red lines and veins that almost cover its entire face, and you see entirely enclose its eyes. As it sort of shifts, it can't, you think no vision. As it is like sniffing around for you. And as it sort of opens its mouth, you see the extended green, purpley saliva drip from its teeth, and you feel that hot breath of like old rotting meat. And that is where we are going to end this week's session.
Is he awake?
You just walked up to him and huffed at him. Yeah.
So I missed that part. I was like,
yeah, basically, Bola could hear it moving and grunting.
And I've quickly gone, right, quickly. My plan was to quickly just chuck the rope, and then I was eventually gonna jump down. But
and to be clear,
we'll have to wait.
You definitely don't think it's not got you, but it knows that something is here.
I'm banking on that 27 just being like, I've essentially got like the leaves are like just covering the mound a little bit, so it just looks
I feel
like
as well that the leaves almost give you a piney scent. You know, that there's almost a different sense all over you from the leaves. So we will leave it there and see.
And it's infected in hell. Oh my God.
And none of us can get that there.
And none of you even know it's happening.
No.
I wasn't expecting him to actually get out. I thought he would poke his head around and go, cool, now we know what it is.
What kind of a hobbit are you? I mean, seriously.
I mean, it's the right kind of hobbit.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. As always, thank you for playing. If you're enjoying the adventure so far and you want to see if Volu can make it from the jaws of an infected, corrupted wyvern, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out next. And as always, roll well. Bye.